There is a legend circulating through every front office in Major League Baseball, whispered from boardroom to boardroom like gospel truth. The Los Angeles Dodgers bank account has no bottom, and any franchise owner would fold the moment Andrew Friedman slides a blank check across the table. What just happened at the dawn of spring training is the most definitive proof, yet that pride, in certain corners of America, cannot be purchased at any price. The bombshell Tom Verducci of Sports Illustrated detonated inside the Dodgers war room this morning reads like a tactical humiliation certificate. Our front office spent the entire winter salivating, carefully stockpiling elite prospects like ammunition for the heist of the century, stealing the greatest left-handed pitcher breathing on planet Earth, Tarik Skubal. The outcome of this billion-dollar harassment campaign? The Detroit Tigers glanced at our proposal, laughed out loud, and slammed the door directly in our general manager's face. Today, we're performing a full autopsy on this historic rejection. We'll dissect why Skubal just shattered every arbitration salary record in baseball history for 2026, how the sport's swift justice swallowed the Dodgers' arrogance whole, and why Detroit's blind courage could transform into the most catastrophic corporate tragedy of the decade before the calendar flips again. Before I crack open this mathematical nightmare on your screen, I'm placing the franchise owner's pen directly in your hand. You're sitting in Detroit's chair right now, and the weight of this decision is entirely yours. Do you have the cold-blooded nerve to reject the opportunity to completely drain the Dodgers' talent pipeline and rebuild your entire organization from scratch today, all for the dream of going toe-to-toe with baseball's elite this season with Skubal anchoring your rotation? Or does refusing LA's offer amount to signing your own financial death warrant, knowing Skubal will demand somewhere near $500 million next winter? Think with ice in your veins, because in baseball, sentimentality destroys payroll ceilings and ruins franchises. Let's examine the crime scene in Detroit. Tarik Skubal isn't merely a pitcher anymore. He's a living, breathing institution. His 2025 season wasn't performance. It was a public execution of every hitter who stepped into the box against him. He finished the year with a 2.21 ERA that made analytically minded executives question the accuracy of their own software, a whip that stayed below 0.90 all season long, and 241 strikeouts that announced his dominance to every corner of the sport. He's a runaway favorite to lift his second consecutive Cy Young Award, and the invoice for that level of brilliance arrived this week with devastating weight. Skubal walked into arbitration with the Tigers and didn't negotiate. He dictated. The arbitrator ruled in his favor and ordered Detroit to write him a check for $32 million to pitch in 2026, a number that obliterated every previous record for a pitcher in that process. Yet Verducci was surgical in his reporting today. Skubal isn't going anywhere. The Tigers want to compete this season, and their front office understands with brutal clarity that without him on that mound, their rotation couldn't win a neighborhood pickup game. This is precisely where baseball's swift justice descends on two completely different front offices simultaneously. For the Los Angeles Dodgers, karma found the exact address of our billionaire ego and knocked down the door. Our brass operated like apex predators who assumed smaller franchises would instinctively submit to financial pressure. They publicly pursued another team's franchise cornerstone, leaked negotiating details to press, and genuinely believed the weight of the Dodgers brand combined with limitless resources would eventually force Detroit's hand. The punishment for that corporate arrogance is marketplace humiliation, so complete it echoes across the entire league. We swallowed a rejection so public and so emphatic that rival front offices are openly discussing it. Now our rotation architects scramble for secondary options, chasing mid-tier arms on bargain shelves because the flagship plan collapsed under the weight of its own hubris. Every team watching knows we blink first, but the clock ticking against Detroit is arguably more terrifying than our embarrassment. Tarik Skubal becomes a free agent after the 2026 season ends, and he's represented by Scott Boras, a man who doesn't negotiate contracts. He engineers financial landmarks. Boras operates without emotion, armed exclusively with spreadsheets, market comparables, and the absolute willingness to hold any player out of spring training if the number isn't right. He will demand the largest contract ever given to a pitcher in the history of organized baseball when next offseason arrives. And the Tigers' ownership family carries a well-documented reputation for keeping wallets sealed tight. The punishment waiting for Detroit's bravery today is genuinely terrifying in its potential scale. By playing the heroic role and refusing the golden payday the Dodgers dangled, the Tigers are gambling everything on their ability to either sign Skubal to an extension this summer or compete so convincingly that keeping him becomes a shared dream. If that negotiation collapses when Boras arrives at the table with a $400 million demand, Detroit loses the best pitcher of his generation for absolutely nothing in return. The line separating tactical courage from financial stupidity is razor thin, and right now Detroit is walking it barefoot in the dark. Consider the compounding pressure this creates internally. Skubal himself understands his market value better than anyone. Every start he makes in 2026 adds another zero to the number Boras writes on that contract demand. His $32 million arbitration figure was a preview, a polite opening statement before the real negotiation begins. The Tigers' ownership must decide before the trade deadline whether to extend him at a number that stretches their comfort zone or flip him for maximum value, waiting until free agency nets them precisely nothing. The Dodgers, meanwhile, face their own uncomfortable mirror. Our rotation's vulnerabilities are now exposed publicly. Yoshinobu Yamamoto remains elite, but his workload must be managed carefully through a long season. Tyler Glasnow's availability never comes without an asterisk, given his documented injury history. Shohei Ohtani returning to consistent pitching duties in 2026 is exciting, but still carries developmental uncertainty after his recovery. We needed Skubal to eliminate every question mark with one transaction, and Detroit said no. Our front office now faces a fork in the road with significant consequences attached to both directions. The humble path involves identifying workhorse pitchers available through trades with desperate franchises, targeting mid-rotation arms who provide innings reliability without requiring another massive prospect outlay. The aggressive path involves escalating the bidding war, identifying the most vulnerable arm on the weakest roster in the Central Division, and extracting them through emergency packaging before the season locks rosters in place. Neither option feels satisfying after dreaming about Skubal all winter, and that psychological gap between expectation and reality is itself a form of punishment our front office brought entirely on itself through overconfidence. The door is shut, the plan is in ruins, and the phone is in your hand right now. You're the president of Los Angeles making this call. After Detroit buried us under that ice-cold rejection, do you swallow every ounce of organizational pride and methodically hunt workmanlike pitchers from the discount sections of this league? Or do you double the aggression, call the worst team in the Central Division, and extract a desperate arm through emergency trade packaging before the window closes? Pour your verdict into the comments with everything you've got. Hollywood is absolutely not accustomed to hearing no from a franchise that size, and the fallout from this rejection is just beginning. And do not step away from this channel for a single second, because while we're reassembling our rotational pride, an unprecedented crisis just erupted to the guts of the American League East overnight. The Baltimore Orioles dropped a shocking ultimatum on their own manager's desk following a tactical scandal inside their clubhouse. The identity of this silent war threatening to detonate Maryland's entire championship project? I'm blowing the lid off that story completely in the next video. Stay locked in